Where is God? It might be better to ask, where is God not? And the answer would be, there is no place where God is not. I want to give you two fancy words that come from theological studies. First one is omnipresent. God is described as omnipresent. Does that fully describe God? No, it doesn't. But it says in one word that there's no place that we can go where God is not. And that's why we're never alone. That's why we can affirm together in prayer that we are always comforted, that we are never alone. The other word, got these dime store words. What was it, Mary?
Omniscient.
Omniscient, all-knowing, that wasn't the word I was headed for, but that is another way. Omniscience, that's the knowledge, that all knowledge comes from the source of all life, and all knowing comes from God. That's why we can say that we don't have to learn it, we just have to remember it, because it's already right here inside of us, because God is right there inside of us. Another word I was headed for was panentheism. Lots of syllables there. Panentheism. It kind of is like pantheism, but it goes far beyond that. God is in everything all around us, all this nature, all this beauty that was talked about in the beginning of the daily word. How we see God in nature. That's pantheism almost. Panentheism says it goes far beyond that, past anything we can ever imagine, and in fact we can find God within us as well. There's a scripture in the Hebrew scriptures, that's in Psalms, and I want to read just a couple verses from Psalm 138, from the George Lamsa translation from the Aramaic language, the language that Jesus spoke. Psalm 130, I said 138, I should have said 139. Verses 7 through 10. Whither shall I go from thy spirit? Or whither shall I flee from thy presence? And why we would want to flee from God, I don't know. Because I'm trying to run to God, and God's trying to pull me there. It's just wonderful. If I ascend into heaven, thou art there. If I descend into Sheol, behold, thou art there also. If I lift my wings like those of an eagle, and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there also shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. There is no place we can go. From the highest vibrations of heaven, whatever that is, if our minds can grasp that, or the very depths of Sheol, which is, Sheol is a word that comes from the Greek language, or at least from a Greek understanding of the world. It's just a place where people go when they pass away. It's sometimes translated as hell, but it's really not that idea of hell. We don't know what it's like, this Sheol. But what we do know is God's there too. That's what it says right there. There's no place we can go that God is not. In our prayer time, we spent some time going into the silence. Everything we did as we relaxed our bodies and affirmed the truth of who we are was leading us to that place, that still and present place where we can know God inside of us. The secret garden, that beautiful meadow, the silence, as Charles Fillmore's called it. That place that is always with us. That place where we can be open to the presence, where we can feel peace, and joy, and love, no matter what's going on around us. And we can allow nature, the beauty that surrounds us, to help us to go to that place. It can be a reminder of the silence, that secret place within us. We are spirit beings, alive before we came into this body temple, alive when the temple no more moves around on this earth. We are spirit. What is that spirit like? I don't know. But it's good. As children of God, we inherit all the good that God is. And it's a part of us. That's why I can affirm in our prayer that we are good right now, just the way we are. This realization helps us to know that we deserve the love that we get. We deserve to receive this life because we are equally beloved children of God. It's so good to remind one another of that. And it's easy to do when we see the Christ light that's in us and someone else and respond with a smile, and perhaps our face just lifts and brightens. There's a communication that goes on, and it doesn't take words. And it's an aid, it's a help. It lifts us to an inner dimension. And maybe that's what heaven is. Maybe that's that place. Because we can't get there in a rocket ship. Even when SpaceX comes up with this taxi that we can ride in and go to the moon, I don't think we're going to be able to go past the moon, and ever, no matter how far we go, we're not going to be able to find this heaven. I'm a math major. Some of y'all may know that. And so in math, we have models that we use to talk about the universe around us. And then physics takes them and they apply them so that we can understand and use it as a predicting tool. And then engineering build bridges. But math is this pure understanding. And in math, we have these ideas of multiple dimensions. For example, we can start with a point. That's why we started in geometry in high school, as a single point. And a point has no expansion in any direction. It's so small that you can't ever measure it. But if you begin to move the point in any direction, now you're beginning to form a line. And that line then extends an infinite distance in every direction from that point, as a point can travel on that line. And so we've moved from a one dimension into two. And then if you take that line and you begin to move it, and it goes in both directions again, and it's in a direction that's square. So if the line is the edge of the Bible, that corner right there, and it begins to move towards me, then you get the face of the Bible. And it goes the other way, and you get this flat tabletop that's extended forever. That's two dimensions. That's two. That's two. The point is 0 dimensions. The line is 1. The flat tabletop, the plane, is 2. And then if I'm standing on the tabletop, I can jump up in the air. I'm jumping in the third direction, which would be, well, it can go that way or that way from the table. So that's 3 dimensions. So we have basically, we'll let my fist be the 3 dimensions. Think of it, imagine that it's a cube, like a dice. And that dice is pretty much just sitting there still until we bring in the next dimension, which we think, some people have hypothesized, we don't really know, but they say, okay, the next dimension's time. So in every moment, you have a different cube. Well, what direction is it moving in? Well, we can't see that because we only see in 3 dimensions. But you can imagine that that cube is moving on line. And there's an infinite number of them going backwards and forwards through time. And all of them taken together, you see, would be eternity. So we've moved from 3 dimensions, which is the 1/5, to 4 dimensions, which is time, the timeline that we looked at, when we studied history. And then all the possible times would be eternity. That would be 5 dimensions. Maybe that's heaven. But it might be that it takes 6 or 7 dimensions before we get to that panentheism. Or it could be any number. Math allows there could be any number of dimensions. We call it n space. It's just some number. It could be any number. Okay, that's my math lesson for today. I hope I didn't put you to sleep. But it's fascinating to think of because we're used to only seeing these 3 dimensions around us. That we can go on a map, and follow the roads, or we can be Knievel and jump on a ramp and fly for a little minute and come back down. So we can move in these 3 dimensions. And we can notice time changing by the way things move around us. But where is God in all this? Every single one of those dimensions is God. I've heard God described, I think Eric Butterworth, I know he used it, and I think he stole it from somebody else. But God is like a point that has an infinite radius. A circle whose circumference cannot be bounded, cannot be contained. So where is God? Where do we find God? We can be reminded of God by the things around us, but where do we find God? Where do we experience God? That place I've been describing as the secret garden, the beautiful meadow, the silence. That's where we experience the presence of God. We can see the signs of God's presence all around us. And they can be a reminder to help us to go to the presence. But there's only one place where we can actually get to that 5th, 6th, or 7th dimension. And that's in our heart. When we can become aligned, you see. When we become aligned, we begin to follow up. Our separate self becomes passive the higher we go, and our active part of us becomes spirit. And remember, the way up in this direction is not up like the spaceship goes. It's in. It's in that other direction that we can't possibly picture with our intellect. It's an inner space. And it's that space where we know God. 5th, 6th, 7th, nth dimension. Somewhere in there. Panentheism. I know I'll never grasp it with my intellect, but I can feel it when I'm there. And you can too. You notice your body. Notice the way it feels. When we are in the presence, we are open, expansive, relaxed. When we lose that presence, when we fall down here into the blue, there's a constriction, there's a tightening. It's the way we can know where we're at. If we're feeling joy, not happiness, but joy, we are in the presence of God in that moment. So where is God? God is. How else can you say it? I invite you to experience. Where is God?